Hello, I'm back. We're going to give this another shot. I just realized that the audio for the last video that I did was not coming through and it didn't record. So I am giving this a shot again, and I'm going to make sure that we've got audio. So there we go. We do have audio this time. Excellent. So we're here talking about an accidentally disinherited child or children. And so I met with a couple the other week, or the other day, that I'm working with. They're a blended family, which means they were both previously married and they have remarried. Both of them have children from their prior marriages. And before they came to see me, they had done some estate planning. They had created a will for each of them, and essentially their wills just left everything to one another. And this was an opportunity for me to point out that they could accidentally disinherit their own children by setting up a plan this way. And they knew that the estate plan that they had put together was very, very basic. It was not comprehensive. It didn't cover them during incapacity. It did not cover them if they were having some issues where they weren't able to deal with their own finances. It didn't have the necessary elements to make sure that it was a comprehensive estate plan. So that's why they came in. They wanted to make sure that they were planning for incapacity and so forth. However, pointing this out, they then learned that they could accidentally be disinheriting their children. The way this works is that they've left the money to each other, all of their assets to each other, and so when the first one dies, everything goes to the surviving spouse, and then it's left to that surviving spouse to leave their estate not only to their children, but also to their deceased spouse's children. And sometimes that just doesn't happen. They don't redo their will and everything just goes to their own children. Sometimes they don't want to do that. They decide that, maybe they don't like their stepkids. That's not as frequent, but maybe that happens. We've all seen the movie of the week where evil stepmom disinherits her husband's daughter or something like that, and that does happen. And then the other issue is that when we leave everything outright to our spouse, we're not protecting those assets at all. We're not locking them down, and they're available for predators and creditors and maybe even future spouses to take. So they were very happy that we pointed this out, and it's not only their situation where this happens. So the other scenario is that you could leave money directly to your children in your will, but if they're minors, it's going to incur some more costs to have a conservator and guardians appointed for them. Even if they're not minors, let's say they're young adults, maybe they're not equipped to get an inheritance right then and have full access to it. I know that my decision-making skills in my mid-20s, when it came to money, are much different than they are now. I would have probably then bought a brand new expensive car rather than saving for my retirement or my necessities. There are a couple of ways to handle it, and one of them would be to leave money directly to children, but there are those issues that I just talked about. Another way to handle this and make sure that the children inherit is to do a prenuptial agreement. Again, in this scenario, the children are going to be inheriting directly, so it has the same problems with naming them as beneficiaries directly in the first to die's will. But also, prenuptial agreements are challenged all the time, and it's very common. It's a very common occurrence that a prenuptial agreement is going to get challenged. And if that happens, it's just more court fees and the potential outcome of that prenuptial agreement going away and your children still being disinherited. And the other issue that's inherent in both the will scenario and the prenuptial scenario is that when people get married, generally they open up joint accounts. They buy things jointly. So when the first spouse dies, everything just automatically passes to the surviving spouse anyway, and there really isn't anything to leave to the children. So the way that we are fixing it for the couple that I met with is we're setting up separate trusts for each of them, and they will each transfer their own separate assets into those trusts. They're both going to be trustees for each other's trusts, so it's not like they're going to be precluded from, using husband or wife's checking account or selling the car, or all of those sorts of things. But when the first spouse dies, their assets, that trust that they have, becomes irrevocable, and it's solely for the benefit of the surviving spouse during the remainder of their lifetime, and it can be used for their needs, to keep them, in a home, and making sure that they have a car that works, and all of those sorts of things. Everything that you would want. Make sure that they have food on the table, everything that you're going to need as a surviving spouse. And but when that surviving spouse dies, the irrevocable trust that was for the benefit of that surviving spouse now gets split amongst the first to die's children. So we know that they are going to be inheriting something if there's anything left. And my clients were thrilled to know that not only were they fixing the problems they thought they had, but now we're fixing problems they didn't even know that they had. So this is very common, this blended family, this is how we refer to this in the industry, in the estate planning community. It's very common. There's a very high divorce rate, and I think I read something just last week about divorced and widowed men usually remarry within 2 years. So, this is an important thing to keep in mind when you are putting together your estate plan. Make sure you're asking the right questions and understand whether or not it's going to be disinheriting children accidentally. Some people, they don't really care, but if it's an issue for you and you want to make sure that your separate children are going to inherit something that you've left behind, if there's anything left, then definitely ask the question and make sure that the estate plan that you're putting together covers that. And while we're at it, make sure that the estate plan you put together is comprehensive. It's not just an end-of-life type of deal. Make sure that it's covering you during incapacity, making sure that there's not unnecessary costs that your family's going to have to incur to have conservator appointed or guardian appointed of you if you become incapacitated in some fashion. And make sure also that it includes any healthcare documents, HIPAA authorizations, advance directives, healthcare power of attorney. And if you have minor children, make sure you're also getting something to protect them if something temporary were to happen to you, temporary guardianship papers and powers of attorney for your children. I guess I should introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. My name is Don Rolfe. I'm an estate planning and probate attorney. My office is located in West Linn, Oregon, on Willamette Falls Drive, just off of 205. I serve clients throughout the Portland metro area, Multnomah County, Clackamas County, Washington County, and some of them even out further if they can handle the drive in. If you found this information helpful, or if you know someone who might find this information helpful, please share it with them. If you have questions, make a comment. If you want to have a private question, you could send me a Facebook message. That's a good way to communicate with me, but it's always better if we could get on the phone or meet in person. I offer a 30-minute estate planning strategy session consultation to anyone that signs up, and you can do that without even having to pick up the phone. You can just click over to my website at nwlplanning.com and click schedule a consultation, and you can pick the time that works best for you, and I'll either call you or you can drive into my office and we'll meet here. All right, just wanted to share this nugget with you. Make sure that my followers and people out there on Facebook understand that that you could be accidentally disinheriting your children if you're not careful. Until next time, take care. Bye.